Hi guys, it's great to be talking to you today from Phnom Penh in Cambodia, believe it or not, where the weather has been 85 degrees all day. How's it been back home? Anyway, I'm glad to have a chance to share with you a little bit about our course, and then I want to talk to you about worldview some. This course is really an experiment. It's a hopefully by looking at a number of different areas, we're going to be able to find the pieces out of which you will be able to tailor your own theology, your own global theology of ministry, or theology of global ministry. Because ministry is a very complex thing, and we're living in an extremely complex world. Like I said in a post or in my last email, we got to learn to think global, right? Global and local, and figure out what that means right here, right now, in this particular ministry context. In any event, I want to talk to you today as we begin our journey about worldview. In his 1979 book, The Postmodern Condition, Jean-Francois Lyotard famously defined the postmodern age as incredulity toward meta-narratives. And what he meant by that is meta-narratives are understood as totalizing stories about history and the goals of the human race that ground and legitimize knowledges and cultural practices. Well, according to Lyotard, in this postmodern society, there is no grand story that makes sense of the universe, only a multitude of local narratives, local stories. You see, we all create our own story of life that gives us some sense of meaning. Now, I suspect most of you have seen that 2013 movie, The Life of Pi. Might have to stretch a little to remember it, but it won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Director for Ang Lee, and it was based on a book by Canadian author Jan Martel. Both movie and book tell this engaging metaphysical and epistemological fable that pushes questions about meaning and knowledge and the meaning of existence. The film begins when a writer meets up with an Indian man who has a story to tell that he claims will make the writer believe in God. And he then begins to tell his story. As a child, he embraced several different religious practices: Islam, Christianity, Hinduism. And he tells about a shipwreck when his whole family died, but he survives on a lifeboat alone with a tiger and a few other animals. The tiger's name is Richard Parker. The animals eventually eat each other, leaving only Pi and Richard Parker to journey alone for, I can't remember how long, over 200 days. And all of this is told in a first-person narrative, inviting the audience to relive the dramatic story as it unfolds. Pi then tells how he was in a hospital bed recovering from his shipwreck injuries and reporting his experience to some investigators. And they're unconvinced, and when they press Pi, he offers them an alternative narrative. He then tells the story of how he was stuck on a lifeboat with his mother, a horribly injured man, and an evil cook who murdered the injured man and then murdered his mother. And Pi tells the writer both stories share the same set of circumstances. In both stories, his mother dies. In both stories, an evil cook commits murder. And in both stories, Pi suffers greatly. And then he asks the writer, which story do you prefer? And the writer replies, sorry, jet going overhead. No, that's not what the writer said. That's what I'm saying. In any event, the writer replies, he likes the story with the tiger. That's the better story. And Pi replies, and so it is with God. So it is with God. Which story do you like best? Is that really how it is with God? I mean, is religion something that we conjure up to make sense of life? What the life of Pi is suggesting is that there is no great story, just the one that we tell ourselves to dress up the real one. It's a way of looking at life that tries to make sense of it without completely unraveling the mystery of life. Can we live without a meta-narrative? Will local narratives suffice? Is a worldview just a heuristic device that helps us decode the confusion of life? Is the tiger, Richard Parker, just a convenience, or is he an essential part of survival? So I want you to imagine with me that life is like a jigsaw puzzle, but a real big one. 100,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. Motorcycle. Not the jigsaw puzzle, just out there. Imagine that life is this 100,000 piece jigsaw puzzle that somehow can be put together in a multitude of different ways. Some ways use up more pieces than others. All of the ways leave a few pieces out. Some are more alike to one another and some are quite different. It turns out with 100,000 pieces, it really helps to have a picture on the box. But here's the metaphysical, the epistemic question. Where does the picture on the box come from? Does the picture on the box represent external objective reality, one that we need to make our pieces conform to? Or is our picture like a religion, a subjective guide that helps us make sense of all the pieces? Well, whatever we decide on this question, the only way to live is to see life as a massive connect the dots puzzle, rather than as isolated experiences that have no relation to one another. Because we need to have a sense of meaning. Or put differently, without context to provide meaning, then we're forced by an inner compulsion to create meaning, to make meaning. Now, this week, you're going to read a lot of interesting stuff that will help you decide how you want to make sense out of this conundrum of worldview. But I particularly love C.S. Lewis and his definition of Christianity as myth that gives meaning without losing its historical objectivity. In his essay, Myth Became Fact, another mythical motorcycle out there. In his essay, Myth Became Fact, in the book God on the Dock, Lewis says the following. Now, as myth transcends thought, incarnation transcends myth. The heart of Christianity is a myth, which is also a fact. The old myth of the dying God, without ceasing to be myth, comes down from the heaven of legend and imagination to the earth of history. It happens at a particular day, in a particular place, followed by definable historical consequences. We pass from a Balder or an Osiris dying nobody knows when or where, to a historical person crucified. It's all in order under Pontius Pilate. By becoming fact, though, it does not cease to be myth. That is, the miracle. To be truly Christian, we must both assent to the historical fact and also receive the myth, fact though it has become, with the same imaginative embrace which we accord to all myths. The one is hardly more necessary than the other. Listen, the myth, the narrative gives meaning to life. From here, I can plot my course anywhere that I have to go. Darrell Johnson, in his book, The Glory of Preaching, he takes inspiration from James Sire and N.T. Wright. And he says that every worldview is asking or trying to answer questions like these. What is prime reality? What is really, really real? Who or what are we? What does it mean to be a human being? Is there any such thing as morality, as right and wrong? If so, what is its basis, and how does one know the good or the bad? Does history have meaning? Or is there any meaning at all? What's wrong with us? I mean, something is off, but what is it? Is there a God? Are there solutions? What happens to humans after death? And what time is it? Where are we in the flow of history? Or are we just tossed like waves on the ocean? Well, it seems to me that these are questions that can only be answered by an individual, by an act of faith, or by choosing a story that best suits the observable phenomena without leaving us with a sense of, let me say that again. Or maybe we have to choose a story that best suits the observable phenomena while leaving us with some sense of mystery in the midst of our living. That's why I like C.S. Lewis's idea of Christianity as a myth. Not because it isn't objectively true, but because it gives us the story par excellence from the storyteller who entered into the drama of existence to give it objective meaning, and yet without dispensing entirely without the element of mystery. You say, David, how do you know this? I say I know it because it uses up the maximal number of pieces in my puzzle, and because it provides a meaningful and useful picture of objective reality. And I know it by faith. I can't escape faith. Reason alone won't get me there. Hey, have a great week. Enjoy the readings.